Today's topic is when all hope is gone. That is from the book of Acts, chapter 27, verse 20 onwards. Verse 20 reads, "When neither the sun nor the stars appeared for many days, and the storm continued raging, we finally gave up all hope of being saved." So today I want us to focus on the events on Paul's journey to Rome, where he was going to stand trial before Caesar. These events were very exciting and dangerous. So the journey to Rome was nearly 2,000 miles by ship. It was decided that Paul could travel to Rome using the Roman Navy ship. As they made their way to the north, the man who was in charge of the prison gave Paul a chance to preach to his needs. So, as the journey became more difficult, Paul advised his team on the danger ahead of them and the possible loss of life. His team ignored his advice and sailed on. A great storm hit the ship that it tossed it around for days, and when neither the sun nor the storm appeared for many days, they finally gave up all hope of them being saved. And right at the moment when they had given up all their hope, God spoke to Paul in a very powerful way. Verse 21 reads that after they had gone a long time without food, Paul stood before them and said, "Men, you should have taken my advice not to sail from Crete. Then you could have spared yourself this damage and loss. But now I urge you to keep up your courage, because not one of you will be lost, only the ship will be destroyed." And this is how verse 23 says that last night an angel of the God to whom I belong and to whom I serve stood beside me and said, "Do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand trial before Caesar, and God has graciously given you the lives of all those who sail together with you." There were 237 men who sailed together with Paul to Rome. So after surviving the storm, they found out that the island was called Malta, and they were welcomed well by those who stayed in that island. So as if the storm and the shipwreck were not enough, Paul was warming himself over a fire when a viper jumped from the fire and fastened itself on Paul's hand. So those who had witnessed Paul surviving these storms were quick to judge why Paul was going through whatever he was going through. Some called him a murderer, and so they expected his hand to be swollen or Paul to die because of this snake. Instead, Paul shook off the snake and he suffered no ill effect. And so these guys had to change their mind, like, this man must be God. And that is the reason as to why he's surviving all these storms. There was a nearby estate that belonged to Publius, the chief official of the island. So when he heard about this man, now Paul, who had survived the storm and the shipwreck, he decided to invite them into his home. And when they showed up in his home, he showed generous hospitality to them. But Publius had a problem, and his problem was that his father was sick. And so Paul went to see him, placed his hand over him, and this man was healed. So when the people in that island heard what Paul had done to this man, the father to Publius, all the sick gathered together and came to Paul for healing, and they were all healed. And so Paul ended up spending like 3 months in that Malta, healing people. It's important to note that the same hand that had the snake on it was the same hand that had the healing, or was the same hand that the healing came from. Paul had a snake, and people who were talking negatively when he was going through these storms. The same way you and me, we have challenges, we have disappointments, we have everyday chaos. We have everyday chaos that can make us give up on hope. But in the same way, God showed up and encouraged them the last minute that they were giving up hope on God. So we should stay encouraged that this God is always there for us, and He will never leave us. So we should never ever give up on God. Thank you and keep safe. Nimefungua mdomo.